Hello there, welcome to Mental Health Monday 1. So this first Mental Health Monday is the start of a sort of series of Mental Health Mondays which will go over my diagnoses and living with them and all that stuff, and then it will go to Mental Health Monday Recovery, within which I'll just be talking about recovery and the different stages of recovery. So, my diagnoses. I have quite a raft of them. I'm just going to go in no particular order. I'm just going to mention the ones I think of first and then go down to others. There are that many. I'm cyclothymic, that's a form of bipolar, and cyclothymia is the rapid cycling form of bipolar. I can cycle many times, even in an hour, from higher mood to very low mood. Now, cyclothymia is like bipolar 2 in that we very often do not have true manias. We have what's called hypermanias, which are a lesser form of mania, but they can happen more often to us. And same with the depressive periods. The depressive periods are not so deep, but they happen more often. We can experience full-blown manias and full-blown depressive episodes. Just so you're aware, the disease can do that, and it is a disease. By golly, I hate when people don't want to call mental health issues diseases because they bloody are. My cyclothymia is dysphoric. Dysphoria is a mood of irritation or aggravation. My hypermanias are almost 100% dysphoric. It has taken me a long time to get that under control. My other manias, my other hypermanias, are constant feeling of revving that goes nowhere. It can last for weeks. Longest it's lasted is about 4 weeks. I wake up every morning with that in my chest and I go to sleep with it in my chest. And you can't breathe past it. It's kind of like a lot of anxiety rests on top of it as well. It makes me very anxious because there's all this energy that I cannot do anything with. It goes nowhere. It's just sitting there. Naturally, as well as having hypermanias, I have depressive periods. They are complicated by the fact that I have yet another disorder, severe depressive disorder, which means I have long periods of extended deep depression. I have suffered from severe depressive disorder since I was about 9. So the cyclothymia since I was about 7 or 8, the severe depressive disorder since I was about 9. It's different in your childhood. I will go into that when I talk about this in more depth. It sort of grows up with you, which is a whole load of fun. But that's that. My second 2 diagnoses are both personality disorders. Again, this is in no particular order. All of these illnesses have had a huge effect on my life cumulatively. You will find if you have one diagnosis, if you have one mental health problem, you often have an awful lot of them. You know, they attach themselves to you like particularly unattractive barnacles. They just seem to crop up all over the place. You think you have one, but then you find out you have 3 or 4 more. But what you find with them is that they're all comorbid. All these different conditions connect into each other in one way or another. And both of my personality disorders connect in very closely with my cyclothymia and my depression. I have avoidant personality disorder and I have schizoid personality disorder. Avoidant personality disorder is characterised by distance from personal relationships due to fear of humiliation or shame or being judged. You don't want to put yourself in a situation where you might be judged by others. And you don't want to be in interpersonal relationships and show who you actually are for fear of being judged or ridiculed, even by someone who's close to you. So it's basically the outcome of an essential loss of trust in other people. I'll go into that more when I talk about avoidant personality disorder in its own little vlog. Same with schizoid. Schizoid is basically a classic loner, inability to function in society, basically. All of these, I will go over them in a more detailed fashion in their own little vlogs. At the moment, I'm just listing them and saying, yes, they've had a massive impact on my life. Naturally, they have, and that they're all interconnected. And interconnected to all of those is my social anxiety. Classic social anxiety. I'm very nervous of being around people. I often talk absolute gobbledygook to people. I hear this nonsense come out of my mouth and I'm like, what the hell is that? But it's because you're so nervous, your thoughts become entangled with what you want to say and it all comes out wrong. And of course, I don't like phones. I didn't like phones. I am in a state of recovery, so there's a lot changing in all of this. This is why I'm going to do separate vlogs on them to tell you how things were and how things are now. But yeah, I avoided phones, I avoided people, social situations, like freaking avoided them like the plague. I would rather have, you know, gone spelunking than be with people, and I am terrified of closed environments, claustrophobic to the nth degree. So that was my social anxiety, and that has been around since my teens. That's directly connected to the bullying I went through then. I'll go into that It's only one of the things that's gone on that's caused a lot of the crap. I will go into it when I talk about the social anxiety and stuff. I also have PTSD. Had PTSD. I have twinges of it. It no longer affects my life as much as it used to. It used to be paralyzing. You know, it's not only people who've been in combat that experience it. If you have gone through a trauma, you can end up suffering from PTSD. It's not a given. Not everyone who goes through a significant trauma will end up with PTSD, but a lot of people do. So to wrap up, I have cyclothymia, dysphoric cyclothymia, severe depressive disorder, social anxiety, avoidant personality disorder, schizoid personality disorder, and PTSD. That's what I live with. I am in a state of recovery from all of those, pretty much. And I will, once I have gone through them all and the effects of them in my life and so on and so forth, I will start talking in depth about all the stages of recovery and how I figured out I was in recovery, because it's not immediately obvious. That's probably my problem though. I don't know. I think maybe everybody's the same. I think maybe the vast majority of recoveries from long-term mental health problems are incremental. They sort of build up and then one day you start to realise, oh my gosh. And then that becomes a very frightening place to be. I will go into that because I think everybody experiences that. Everybody who's going through recovery gets to that point where they start to recover and then they start to panic because you don't want to go backwards. Going backwards is the most horrifying thing when you have been at very rock bottom, when you have lived in it for a very long time and you know the shape and feel of it. You don't want to go back there. That's a nightmare. That's my nightmare. I think at this point I would fight tooth and nail to prevent that, which is good. I wouldn't want to have to, but I would. And I say this is good because there have been stages where I would not fight it tooth and nail, where I would be terrified to go back, but I would go back because going forward is more frightening than going backwards. At this point, it is more frightening to go backwards than to go forwards, despite the fact that forwards is terrifying me. So this is how you know you're in recovery. Because everything changes in you. All these set feelings that you've had, all these patterns that you'd stick to, they start to change over time. That's a great place to be, and it's also a frightening place to be, and I will go into it in depth. And if anyone has any questions about my disorders or whatever, you know, pop them in the comments below. I'll happily reply to them. If anyone wants to talk in the comments about theirs, or if, I just want to help people who've been in my situation or other situations that are similar to mine. And I want to be honest, because everyone's like, oh, this stuff is on the internet forever and it might affect how you are in life. Well, it's like, oh yeah, okay, I'm 39 years old. It's pretty much affected all of my life. And if I'm going to start denying that now, then I'm an idiot. So I'm putting this out on the internet. It's going to be for anyone to see. I'm not ashamed of having been mentally ill. I am angry about that, but I'm not ashamed, because one of the realizations that you have when you start to recover is that, and it's a hard realization, is that I could not have been this person that I am now. 5 years ago, 2 years ago even, could not have been her. Could not have been her, could not have done this. And I will go into that in one of the recovery vlogs, how you have to confront this sudden wellness in yourself and how it makes you feel about what you should have been doing this whole time. Because often it's lies. And coming to understand that it's lies, it's, oh, you should have been doing this all along. You're suddenly all the voices that have ever judged you ever. Oh, as a note, I will go into slightly more in other vlogs. I am neither medicated nor in any therapy at the moment. I went through 1.5 years of psychotherapy. I also was on 3 different types of medication. I was on Depakote, Ephedrine, and Zyprexa, I think it is, an antipsychotic. And they were not good for me. They didn't really help. They worked for a short period of time and then they had to up the dose, and in the end I was on the maximum doses and it was having horrible side effects, and I came off. And I could have tried different drugs, but I don't respond well to medication. So I thought, I'm going to have to find other ways to deal with this. And so I asked for psychotherapy. Initially I wasn't offered it. I had to get the help of an advocate, and I will go into that as well, because I think advocacy is amazing. And anyone who is struggling with the system, unfortunately advocacy is probably not as extensive as it was even then, because it wasn't that extensive then. I only managed to get an advocate because I knew someone on a mental health forum who was willing to vouch for me with advocates in my area. So it is, I suspect, quite difficult even now to get an advocate. But the advocacy service is amazing, and anyone who is having problems with their mental health services in their area, get in touch with your advocacy service in your area. They are a wonderful service, and they often fight tooth and nail for you to get exactly what you want, because they listen to you. They're advocates. They are there to listen to you and to fight your corner. So that's where I'm going to end it. Thank you for watching this. I hope it's been helpful. I hope you'll come back for the other ones, and goodbye.